Thank you and welcome back. I believe you had a minute to take a breath and that you are ready to participate with us as we now examine the highlights for the new week that is coming. And we're going to begin by looking at the calendar. So here is the calendar month for that includes week number 33 of the Neoteran calendar. Of course, week 33 takes place fall squarely within the 8th common month. The 8th common month, a C of that comes to the indicator of the month's counter and indicator means that the common month. That means it's not a late month, it's not an intercalary month, it's not an additional month. Of course, all 8 months, month 8 in our calendar are common months. We don't have, there's no point in time where they are we can have an intercalary month. We will have month 3, month 3, month 6, potentially month 9, and month 12. One of the one of the most mysteries we need to solve in our calendar is whether we can have an intercalary month 9, month 6 rather. We can have an additional month 6. We have our research has enabled us this far to cover only 300 years in the expanse of time, 150 years before the start in the ante-regnum era. ER means era regnum, and that is before the kingdom, the epochal start of our year 6, date 1 of month 1 of year 1 in the era regnum. So we do have a look at 130 years, 130 years in the era regnum dispensation, and 170 years in the ante-regnum dispensation. The capacity to check alignments of the planet. Only cover that far for our calendar. And in all that checking, we have not found a single year in which we needed to create an intercalary month 6. Theoretically, it should be possible. So our current actually, the greatest support, if we could manage to, invest some money, with about $50. It's not a lot of money, but if you can listen to us and hear this and are able to support us to putting $50 into better and more detailed ephemerides. Ephemerides are the measures of the planetary alignment across time. Right now, as I said, we are looking at ephemerides already covered 300-year span. So if you could enable us to look at maybe 5,000, 10,000 years, then we can start speaking with confidence because we know that pattern that requires month 6 is associated with Passover. Passover is a very, very essential period in our calendar. And if we can be able to prove definitively that Passover is so special, that when we look at the planetary alignments, the various patterns and aggregations that exist between the sun and the moon would never require to add an extra 9 months. Then that would give us a what? Thank you so much. I see our audience picked some few minutes ago. If you're there and you can hear us, please do make a comment. Please do make a comment in the live stream comment. I'll just give an indication, either an emoji and said emoji, that still would be great for us to get a sense of who is reading to us. So I'm saying this is the 8th common month. This is week number 33 right here. It is the week that starts in just a few minutes time. Actually, according to the standard measurements, that week has already started now when we are speaking with you. But you're waiting for the invitation to come, and that was in about 22 minutes from now. So this is the week we're talking about. There is no major lunisolar alignment that is happening. Of course, nothing happens in the middle of a month. with lunisolar changes. The sun has already gone into what the major happening was happening yesterday, or rather this day that is ending, this 14th. Earlier today is when the lunisolar conjunction happened. So let's look now at what are these highlights that we're talking about. Number week 33. Now this is something that is continuing. We always start with something that is continuing from the previous week, and we're talking about the multi-planetary conjunction happening in house Habizelda. That is the Neoteran 7th celestial house. It is continuing this week. We're looking at that. None of the, just as it was last week, none of the planetary bodies in Habizelda have a perfect conjunction with each other. And it's very, very important because if you're looking at this from the perspective of somebody who follows what you call tropical astrology or traditional astrology, you may hear about this conjunction happening within Aquarius. But we don't talk about that. Aquarius is not a house. It cannot house anything. It's a host. It can host. And when you are host of a house and you're hosting somebody as a guest, they are not inside you. They live with you in the house. So that is why you don't say in Pisces, in Aquarius. But I can say the host is Aquarius. So the important change that is happening with this multi-planet conjunction is that Vesta joins this conjunction, and then planet Mercury leaves, because Vesta is the one that is entering Habizelda, and Mercury is leaving Habizelda and going into house number 8, celestial house number 8. So, and the host here is Pisces, but you cannot say that they are within Pisces. Of course, the reckoning what is Pisces is different from the other kind of what, except maybe if you're talking about Vesta. What if you're talking about Vedic astrology, they'll tell you this is and the sidereal. It will tell you, they will tell you this conjunction is happening in Pisces properly, and but the others will tell you in Aquarius, but it's wrong from our perspective. You don't say the host; these are inside the host. So the house and the host, that differentiation is only unique to Neoteran astrology as far as we can tell. So what are the other planets that are here now? So which planets now are in this host and house conjunction within Habizelda? Planet Mars, planet Saturn, Vesta, which is new, Neptune, and Aries. None of them are in perfect conjunction. I think there is likelihood, I think next week, Vesta and Neptune could enter into perfect conjunction. We're going to talk about that. And there's possibility that that is happening next week, but I'm not certified correctly whether that's going to happen, because Vesta is quite a transient planet, but it's not that quick. And I think by this week it's about almost maybe 7 degrees away. It has to go into an orb of 3 degrees for us to consider that what is happening. So that is the change that is happening within this. This multi-planetary conjunction has been going for weeks, but as you can see, every week there's a slight change. There's a slight vibrational frequency kind of adjustment that is happening. Okay. And now let's go to another highlight for the week. And that is something also that is it's not continuing, but it's something that has ended. Towards the end of this week, the Venus-Uranus perfect conjunction that was happening at the cusp of Neoteran celestial houses number 8 and 9, it has come to an end. As we enter this week, that is something that has ended. We are talking about it last week, but it does not continue this week. Now, something else that is starting here is a perfect square. It's coming, and it is starting on Sunday. Sunday, this very day that is coming, we have this Mercury-Pluto perfect square. Again, a perfect square is when planets are approximately or exactly 90 degrees from each other. It is starting this week, rather, and exactly this day that we are talking, the very first day of week number 33. But we are talking about the exact alignment. The square will have to wait up until 17. The 17th, that is Tuesday, that is when that perfect alignment will attain exact alignment, or rather perfect square. That perfect square is perfect already It's not a square or a host. It's not a de facto, or rather a de jure. No, no, no. I don't know whether we use de jure and de facto. What do we should use? Perfect. Perfect and de facto. So not de facto. It is a perfect square. But on Tuesday, this is the most important and significant. Again, just as with all markers, I tell you, there is no universal interpretation of the importance or danger inherent in this. And I'm getting all that. YouTube usually gives me a lot of false flags telling me my stream has errors and it's not receiving sufficient data to stream correctly. But sometimes these are usually false flags. That's what I've realized. I usually depend on you, and that is why it would be good because I can see we have a handful of people joining us. That is why it's always good to hear from you. I don't know whether this is the same situation as we had last week, a few weeks ago, but this time round I am looking at the live stream both as a presenter and as if I'm a part of the audience. And let me send myself a message or you people a message. I'm asking, are you there? Trying to see if there's somebody else who's responding because I can see that, and let me see if I'm able to track that as a present. I can. If I said emoji, oh sorry, I don't know how to do this. I'm pretty not very good. I'm actually now coming to the capacity to start sending this message. So thank you so much. Let's look at let's go on discussing what has happened across this week. So let's look at our highlights for the week. If we look at our counter, we are still 14 minutes away. We are still 14 minutes away from the time when we will have to speak creatively to welcome the new week. So let's continue looking at the highlights. And another highlight for the week is another perfect square. And this will attain its perfect alignment. Actually, what has happened is that this square started this week number, previous week 32. But its perfect square will attain, this perfect square will attain, this perfect square will attain exact alignment on Monday. The date for Monday in the Neoteran calendar is 16th of the 8th month. Thank you so much. I can see finally this somebody who is going, who is speaking to us. This is somebody who is a little bit 1, 2, 3 sister. Of a mystery, some bit of a mystery person. I don't know who they are, but thank you so much. If you know who you are, I know you've been a great fan of ours. I've seen a little bit of your channel. I love your channel, but you are completely a mystery to who you are. But I love it that you do tune frequently. That's amazing. I love you, whoever you are. So if you can reveal your identity, I would be glad. But if you want to remain anonymous, that's still good for us. So this is a perfect square that is happening this very week. Again, as you see, there are two perfect squares. We've talked about this, the second one we're talking about, happening this week. And it will end, it will go on up until Friday. So something that is spanning at least 4 or 5 days, we're going to have this square. Again, what is its importance? Its importance matters with your profile. Only your profile can tell me, is this something significant? Is it in a positive way? Is it significant in a negative way? Is it significant in an indifferent way? But it is not a gateway that has universal meaning that is perfect for everybody. That is the importance what you need to know about astrology. So that when you see Google and Google does not understand who you are and your alignments, These astrological prognostications only make sense, the greatest sense, when you look at your profile. Of course, the sun and the moon does not have many caveats. I've said this before. It's only the sun and the moon that don't have, in particular cycles. The moon has so many varieties and ways of displaying its creative signatures. And therefore, the moon, there are some times that we don't put caveats on it, especially when it comes to the synodic cycle. That one is richer for everybody to make use of. But now we are talking about just a couple of, I was talking about earlier today, that lunar solar opposition. That one will not find me telling you, you cannot make use of it, or be careful, or check whether it's negative or it's positive. There's no such a thing, because that has to do with the sun and the moon. They are the primary, they are the standard creative indicator, and therefore we don't have that. But this is not the same. Mars and Jupiter are very, very specific creative applications, and therefore it will depend on who you are. Now, something else starting this week, as we were looking at the planetary graphics, is the planetary standstill of Pluto. And they last at least maybe up to 2 weeks. I've not worked out that exactly, but I know because I've already looked at the data for next week, and I know Pluto will still be at a standstill as we come to the other Wednesday. So this one, standstills are very, very important. They're essential. Actually, whenever we see significant astrological intervention happening in biblical scriptures, they're usually attached to planetary standstills. That tells us something. That tells us that when planetary bodies come to perfection of standstill, something special is released. But exactly how special depends on what you know, what language you can, how much of an authority you have. So again, this is something that will depend on your planetary, your natal alignment. Now we come to the final thing that we're looking at, and before we look at the lunar what, let's check and see where the countdown to the signifier for the start of a new week shows us that we are. This way we are. 9 minutes to the start, and we'll still have another short break. So let's go back to looking at lunar transits and alignments there. So these are the 5. You usually select about 5. Like, it's not actually deliberate. Actually, I'm wondering, over the past few weeks of looking at what and the highlights you're getting for the moon and the moon. And that's why I tell you how the moon is special. The moon is so special that you see we dedicate a whole set of alignments, and they are not like everything the moon is doing. Actually, if we're talking about things like squares and trines, and we would be filling several pages of the moon alone in a week. So we look at the very, very special, the most significant one. Okay? The moon does so many things within just even a day that you ignore the moon at your own peril. And that is why feminine creative energy is the most programmable, the most powerful energetic one. And I don't understand why people ignore the moon. You see in certain systems, like certain calendars, which don't follow the moon, it is a tragedy of sorts. So Sunday, this very day that is beginning, we are going to have a planetary opposition. Like the only aspects of the moon that we look at in its tropical cycle are opposition and conjunction. We don't look at trines, we don't look at squares, we don't look at other alignments that are there that can be possible to prognosticate. I'm not saying that they are not there, but they are there. We don't look at gateway transits. We don't. You don't see us talking about a gateway except creative gateway transit, but you don't look at the ordinary transits of the moon. We look at select creative gateway transit. There are only 4 of them out of 24. So the other 20, the moon completes all 24 of them, because they complete all 24 of them in number of how many days? Actually, 27 days. in 27 days. No, in less than 28 days, but in about 28 days, it will complete all of them, all 24 of them. So we look at only the 4 that are creative gateway transits, and one of them is happening this week. So as you can see, all these are happening. Most of them are happening. Actually, everything is happening on this tropical cycle this week. There's nothing happening on the draconic or the synodic. There is a significant junction this week because, of course, the synodic etiquette happened just earlier today. The major education on the synodic cycle, because they tend to happen over every about 7 to 8 days, and therefore because the last synodic one, moon passed through the moon passed through its synodic indicator, the opposition, and yet so these are all, and actually they are all oppositions except the one that is going to happen on Saturday, planetary conjunction with Pluto. Yeah. So the one that is significant, this is actually special because here we are going through what we call a major lunar cycle, and it will not always be like this across the year. Last year is when it was at a complete maximum, but this year is still we are still getting very very significant lunar cycles that have very great deviation from the standard set by the moon, by the sun. So these are significant, and it's happening on Tuesday. Please, if you want to know more about this is not in the synodic. As you can see, actually, all these are not in the synodic. Some of them will have caveats, some will not have caveats. So you can talk to me, and I'll be able to tell you more about it. This is actually maybe the most significant thing happening this week. And the Pluto Standstills and the moon are Standstills. Both of them are Standstills. And actually, they are happening quite close to each other. They are happening quite close to each other because, as you can see, the moon on Saturday, Tuesday, it's at a standstill. Then just a few days later, 3-4 days later, it is going to conjunction with Pluto. And those are the highlights. Those are the significant things that are happening this week. As always, how they impact your life is dependent, is anchored on your specific planetary, not planetary, but what we call a natal cycle. And we are only 4 minutes away